Welcome to the TheDPost Sports Chat. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Ed Owens before the final game of the season for the WVU football team. It's been a struggle for the Mountaineers, 4-7, and no matter how Saturday's home finale goes against Iowa State, this will be the last game. No bowl this season for the Mountaineers. And 12 games deep, and we're still starting our discussion with quarterback situation. Still kind of going into this one not knowing who it's going to be. Have you gotten a feel where does WVU stand at this point with the quarterbacks?
Dana did us a favor. He at least eliminated 4 Childress from the conversation. Childress, who tore a pec against Maryland early in the season. Kind of hinted at a possible comeback for Childress. He is officially ruled out, which leaves Paul Millard and Clint Trickett. And no, we're exactly in the same position we were in week 1, and we're heading into the final game of the season, and it's completely up in the air for WVU. I think Trickett, showed the most promise. He's kind of always been the one, even from the very first time we sat here and talked about this, that I thought they wanted to go with this season. I think they probably will give him a chance. He's been cleared from his concussions, multiple concussions we found out on Tuesday. He had suffered one against Kansas State and didn't tell anybody about it, and then suffered a second one against Texas. That's when he was knocked completely unconscious, and that's when they were kind of alerted to it. So I think he's cleared. They're going to give him the chance to play, and I'd expect to see him against Iowa State.
A little bit more with Trickett. What was his story there? Why did he not alert anybody, or did he realize exactly what it was right away? What happened there?
Yeah, he knew. He knew that he had suffered a concussion. He said he hid it from people. He wanted to stay in the game. He didn't want to come out, and he said that it's kind of scary, the information that they've come out with concussions now, and he said he's aware of it, but he didn't want to come out of the game. He said you want to stay in there, you want to be tough, which is kind of the same football tough guy mentality that's led to a lot of these players having the problems they do later in their careers.
No, that's a tough situation, interesting. But looking at another offensive player on WVU's side who actually be playing in his last game as a Mountaineer, his first and only season, Charles Sims, came in with high expectations. WVU expected him to be their main guy on offense. And when you look at some of the stats, he has delivered to a degree where he ranks second, I think, in all-purpose yards in the Big 12. Where does he go in this last game? What do you think this season will be remembered with Charles?
Well, Sims is 54 yards away from reaching 1,000 yards rushing this season, and running backs coach Jawan Sider said that he really wanted Sims to get it. He said he wants it more for Sims than Sims wants it for himself, to go out there and get those yards. Sims has never had a 1,000-yard season in his career, so they really want him to go out and get those yards. And I think this week they have the chance to do it. They're going against the worst rush defense in the Big 12. Iowa State's given him about 225 yards, so Sims has a good chance to do it. As for the season, I think it will be remembered as a pretty successful one-year rental for WVU. Came in from Houston. They expected to be able to use him a lot the same way that Dana did when they were together back there with the Cougars, and I think they did that. Sims is obviously the leading rusher on the team. He's tied for the team lead in receptions, so they've really gotten a lot of mileage out of him for just 1 year.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at kind of the senior class as a whole, that was one other thing that I spoke to quite a few of the seniors, and Charles is on the other end of the spectrum where he hadn't really played, but then you look at this group of 14 guys and kind of what they're going to be remembered for, and a lot of them were talking about hoping that they left a legacy that they kind of stuck through it, which when you look at it, you know, they're the first senior class that will not be going to a bowl game since 2001. They've had their ups and downs, but it probably is one of the most interesting groups of fifth-year seniors that WVU's ever had when you consider 2 different head coaches, 2 different conferences, 20-some probably assistant coaches that they've seen come and go from the doors. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a group that's gone through more adversity than this group, and that kind of leads into where does this WVU program go from here after Saturday's game. It seemed like one of the words that Dana Holgorsen mentioned a lot on Tuesday was continuity, which I kind of found interesting, where what he was saying before the season versus what he is saying now kind of contradicts one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Heading into the year, it seemed like they were talking about how they were going to be able to replace last year's stars like Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin without missing a beat. The offense, they kind of viewed it as a machine. You just kind of replace a couple parts here and there and keep it rolling. I think they were surprised at how many struggles they had this year. They replaced a lot of guys on the coaching staff. They had to replace a lot of their skill position guys. It was a big struggle for them. So where where do you go from here? I think they have to move forward. I don't really know that they could move backwards from the way this year went. Hopefully they wouldn't have the same injury concerns going forward. Dana said he never expects to have another season like this in terms of personnel and coaching changes. So I think there's optimism. I think he said that he feels like they're still moving in the right direction and that the pieces are all there. So it's just a matter of going into the offseason, pulling it all together, and hopefully coming back next year with a better product on the field.
And last one for you. You mentioned the assistant coaches, and it's something that throughout the season we hadn't really gotten into, but they did replace 3 of their 4 offensive coaches in the offseason, and in the preseason, Dana Holgorsen and Shannon Dawson said no big deal. Both of them knew the offense so well that it wasn't that big of an issue to have so many fresh coaches. But did that factor into what happened offensively this season? And conversely, do you feel like Dana really wants to make sure he keeps that offensive unit intact moving forward?
I think he does want to keep the offensive staff in place. I think he does like the guys, and as I said, he does feel like they're moving in the right direction. That said, I don't know you can blame their offensive struggles on the coaching changes. They did have guys who were in here, guys who were in the system. They had to teach some of the players what to do, I guess, from square one. But the not knock on this offense, but the positive about this offense was always what they said: you could install it in 3 days, you could keep it moving, you could figure things out quickly. They weren't able to do that. They've had a lot more than 3 days this year, and they never really got this going. So hopefully it is going to come down to continuity, kind of giving them that extra year to get it figured out. But I don't know that you can say the offensive struggles this year were completely from that coaching staff changes.
Sure, I think I would agree with that. And appreciate your time, and please continue to check TheDPost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching today.